Before we dive into this story, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, leave a like, and turn on the notification bell, because what I'm about to share with you is only the beginning of a roller coaster you won't believe. Hi everyone, I never thought I'd be the type of guy to post something like this, but life has a way of throwing curveballs when you least expect it. My name's Daniel, I'm 52 years old, and I've been married to my wife, let's call her Linda, for 26 years. We raised 2 kids together, built a home, and went through our fair share of ups and downs. If you'd asked me a year ago, I would have told you that our marriage wasn't perfect, but it was solid. We had our arguments, our quiet stretches, but I always believed we were in it for life. That belief started to crack a few months ago. It began with small things. Linda started staying late at work more often. She claimed the accounting department was understaffed, and she had to cover shifts. Fair enough, but she'd come home looking different. Tired, yes, but also oddly energized. She'd spend more time on her phone, always guarding the screen like a teenager. When I asked who she was texting, she snapped, "Don't you trust me?" and changed the subject. I tried to ignore it. After all, we'd been together for decades. Who was I to question her every move? But then the lies started piling up. Little inconsistencies. She'd tell me she was at the office, but a friend of mine swore he saw her downtown, dressed up way nicer than just for work. Another time, she said she skipped lunch, yet I found a restaurant receipt in her purse for 2 meals. At first, I told myself I was overthinking. Maybe it was innocent. Maybe she was just embarrassed about spending money eating out. But deep down, a knot started forming in my stomach, the kind that whispers, something's not right here. And I had no idea, just how right I was. The night everything started to unravel was one of those ordinary evenings that should have been boring, uneventful, safe. Linda told me she was working late again. I didn't argue, just heated up leftovers and sat in front of the TV. But something inside me kept nagging. It wasn't just suspicion anymore, it was instinct. At around 9:30 p.m., I decided to call her. She didn't pick up. Not once, not twice, 5 times. Straight to voicemail. 10 minutes later, she texted me, "Sorry, meeting ran late, I'll be home soon. Don't wait up." Except here's the thing, Linda never said, "Don't wait up." That wasn't her language. It felt cold. Almost rehearsed. I couldn't shake the feeling, so I did something I'd never done before in our entire marriage. I drove to her office. The building was dark. Completely shut down for the night. That's when my chest tightened. I sat in my car for a few minutes, debating if I was just losing my mind, if maybe she'd gone out with coworkers. But then I noticed her car. Not in the office lot, but parked 2 blocks away, near a small Italian restaurant we'd been to years ago. I walked up slowly, heart pounding, palms sweating. Through the window, I saw her. My wife. Sitting at a candlelit table, with a man I had never seen before. She wasn't just eating. She was laughing. Leaning in. Her hand resting on his arm. It wasn't the body language of colleagues. It was intimate. Familiar. The way she used to look at me. I froze. For a moment, I thought I might be sick right there on the sidewalk. 26 years of marriage, and there she was, acting like a love-struck teenager with someone else. I pulled out my phone, took a picture, my hands shaking so badly the image blurred, and then walked back to my car. I didn't confront them right then. I couldn't. My whole body felt numb, like the air had been sucked out of the world. That night, I sat in the dark living room waiting for her to come home. She walked in at nearly midnight, carrying a bag that smelled faintly of takeout. Smiling like nothing happened. And that's when I knew, she was going to lie to my face. So there I was, sitting in the dark living room like some cliché from a bad movie. The clock ticked past midnight when Linda finally walked in, carrying the takeout bag like it was a prop in her little performance. She jumped a bit when she saw me. "Oh, you scared me." "Why are you sitting in the dark?" she asked, forcing a laugh. I didn't answer right away. I just looked at her. Really looked. 26 years of shared life between us, and for the first time, I couldn't recognize the woman standing in front of me. "Where were you, Linda?" I finally asked. "Calm. Too calm." She blinked, then quickly recovered. "I told you. At the office. We had to finalize some reports, then I grabbed some takeout. Didn't I text you?" Her tone was sharp, defensive. Like I was the one being unreasonable. I leaned forward, my voice low. "Funny. Because I stopped by your office. The building was locked. And I saw your car, parked near Giovanni's." The color drained from her face for a split second, barely noticeable, but I caught it. Then, like the seasoned liar she was becoming, she plastered on a frown. "Are you spying on me now?" "God, Daniel, that's pathetic." I pulled out my phone, showed her the blurry photo I'd taken through the restaurant window. Her sitting across from him, her hand on his arm. "Explain this," I said. She froze. Then, unbelievably, she rolled her eyes. "That? He's just a coworker. We were discussing some tax issues for the company. Don't twist it into something it's not." I felt my jaw clench. "Over candlelight? With your hand on his arm?" That's when the mask slipped. Her voice went cold. "You know what your problem is, Daniel? You're paranoid. No wonder I don't tell you things, you always overreact. Maybe if you trusted me for once, we wouldn't be having this conversation." It was like being punched in the gut. She wasn't just lying. She was flipping it on me, making me the villain. Classic gaslighting. And yet, some part of me still wanted to believe her. To cling to the hope that maybe I was wrong. Maybe 26 years of marriage wasn't crumbling before my eyes. But deep down, I already knew. After that confrontation, I thought maybe, just maybe, Linda would come clean. But instead, the lies only got more elaborate. The very next day, she acted as if nothing had happened. Cheerful, humming in the kitchen, even kissed me on the cheek before heading to work. The sheer audacity left me speechless. But I wasn't about to let it slide. I decided to test her. Around lunchtime, I called her office landline. A young receptionist picked up and said, "Oh, Linda. She left a few hours ago." My blood ran cold. She wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. That evening, I asked her again, "Rough day at work?" She gave me the same robotic line, "Yeah, exhausting. Meetings all day." She even had the nerve to complain about difficult clients. I stared at her, and for the first time in 26 years, I felt genuine disgust. Then came the kicker. Later that night, as she was in the shower, her phone buzzed on the nightstand. Normally, I wouldn't dare touch it, trust had always been sacred in our marriage. But trust was already shattered, wasn't it? The message preview lit up the screen, "Can't stop thinking about last night. Same time tomorrow." My hands shook as I scrolled. The messages painted a picture I couldn't deny anymore. Not just emotional intimacy, graphic, detailed exchanges. She wasn't just cheating. She was thriving in it. I felt my chest tighten, tears welling up in my eyes, but anger overpowered everything else. When she came out of the shower, towel wrapped around her, I held up her phone. Her face went pale. Then, without missing a beat, she snatched it from my hands and screamed, "How dare you go through my private messages? That's a violation, Daniel. Not an apology. Not even an attempt at denial this time, just pure venom." It hit me then, she didn't feel guilty. She felt entitled. And that was the night I realized, I wasn't just living with a liar. I was living with a stranger. After the phone incident, the tension in our house was unbearable. Linda gave me the silent treatment for days, acting as though I had committed the crime. She stormed around, muttering about invasions of privacy and controlling husbands, while carefully avoiding the actual issue, that she was cheating. I thought I had seen the worst of it, until the doorbell rang one Saturday morning. I opened the door and froze. Standing there was the man from the restaurant. The same guy Linda had been with. He looked just as shocked to see me. For a moment, we just stared at each other. Then he said, almost nervously, is Linda here? My stomach dropped. He knew where we lived. Which meant this wasn't some casual fling. He was involved. Deeply enough to come looking for her at our marital home. Before I could answer, Linda came rushing from the hallway, her face going pale. Tom! What are you doing here? She hissed, her voice sharp. Tom! His name was Tom. And then it hit me like a truck, she hadn't just lied to me. She had lied to him too. Because the look on his face wasn't that of a man who thought he was sneaking around with someone's wife. It was the look of someone who thought he was in a real relationship. Wait, Tom stammered, turning to me. You're her husband. I clenched my fists, rage boiling up, but my voice came out cold, for 26 years. Tom's face twisted with betrayal. He spun back to Linda. You told me you were separated. You said he was just, he stopped mid-sentence, shaking his head in disbelief. Linda's lips tightened into a thin line. Tom, this isn't the time or place. Just, leave. But he didn't leave. He looked at her, then at me, then back at her. How many lies, Linda? To him. To me, to both of us. And right there, in my own doorway, my wife's double life began to unravel in front of us all. The three of us stood in the doorway like characters in some twisted play. Me, the betrayed husband. Tom, the clueless other man. And Linda, caught in her web of lies. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Linda finally broke the silence with that sharp, condescending tone I'd come to hate. Daniel, stop looking at me like that. You don't understand. I laughed bitterly. Oh, I don't understand. Please, enlighten me. Because from where I'm standing, my wife has been sneaking around behind my back and lying to both of us. Tom crossed his arms, glaring at her. You told me your husband was abusive. That you were just waiting for the divorce papers to go through. Was that all a lie too? Linda shot him a look that could kill. I said that because I needed time. You wouldn't have stayed otherwise. My jaw nearly hit the floor. Abusive? Divorce papers? She had invented an entirely new reality just to keep her affair going. Tom shook his head, disgust written all over his face. Unbelievable. You had me feeling sorry for you while you were playing house here the whole time. But Linda wasn't finished. She turned to me, her voice rising. And you, don't act like some perfect victim, Daniel. Our marriage has been dead for years. You bury yourself in routine, in your little comfort zone, while I'm stuck feeling invisible. I needed more. The words stung, but what hit harder was the way she said them, like she was justified. Like her betrayal was somehow my fault. Tom ran a hand through his hair and muttered, I can't believe I fell for this. Then he looked at me, his expression pained. I'm sorry, man. I had no idea. He stormed out, slamming the door behind him, leaving me alone with the woman I thought I knew. Linda crossed her arms, defiant. Well, now you know. So what are you going to do about it? Her voice dripped with challenge, as if daring me to react. And that's when I realized something terrifying, she wasn't sorry. Not even a little. After Tom stormed out, silence filled the room. I just stood there, staring at Linda, my heart pounding so loud it drowned out everything else. She leaned against the wall, arms crossed, her expression more annoyed than guilty. Like she was irritated I had ruined her little fantasy life. I took a deep breath. Linda, I said, my voice low but steady. I want the truth. All of it. How long has this been going on? She shrugged. Shrugged. As if I had just asked what was for dinner. A few months. 6, maybe 7. I lost track. The casualness of her words cut deeper than any knife. And he's not the only one, she added, almost under her breath. I froze. What did you just say? She looked me dead in the eye. You think Tom was the first? Please. He was just the one who stuck around the longest. My stomach dropped. The room seemed to tilt. 26 years of marriage, and this wasn't even a one-time mistake. It was a pattern. A choice. I felt rage surge through me, hot and violent, but I forced it down. Pack a bag, I said finally. My voice didn't even sound like mine. You're leaving tonight. She laughed, a bitter, mocking sound. This is my house too, Daniel. You can't just throw me out. Something in me snapped. No, Linda. This was our house. But you destroyed that the moment you brought strangers into our marriage. If you won't leave, I will. Her face twisted with fury. Fine. Walk away. That's what you're good at. But the truth was, I wasn't walking away in defeat. For the first time, I felt a strange sense of clarity. Like a fog had lifted. I went upstairs, grabbed a duffel bag, and stuffed clothes into it. As I zipped it shut, I realized, the life I had known for 26 years was over. And as painful as that was, a small part of me felt free. I thought walking out that night would be the end of it. I checked into a cheap motel on the edge of town, tossed my bag on the bed, and just sat there staring at the wall. 26 years, gone. My whole identity as a husband, ripped away in a matter of days. But then, the unexpected happened. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Tom. At first, I almost ignored it. Why would I want to talk to the guy who had been with my wife? But curiosity got the better of me. I think we should talk. Man to man. She lied to both of us. Against my better judgment, I agreed. We met at a small diner the next morning. When he walked in, he looked just as wrecked as I felt, red eyes, unshaven, like he hadn't slept. Look, he started, sliding into the booth across from me. I didn't know she was married. I swear. She told me you were separated, that you were controlling, that you refused to sign divorce papers. She played me just like she played you. I studied him for a moment. There was no smugness, no arrogance. Just raw anger and betrayal. And then he dropped a bomb. You're not the only husband she's lied to. I did some digging last night, and it turns out she's been on dating apps for years. He pulled out his phone, showing me screenshots. Profiles with her pictures, different names, slightly altered details, but all her. Some of the accounts went back nearly a decade. My hands went cold. A decade? That meant she'd been living this double life while we were still raising our kids. While I thought we were building a future together. Tom shook his head. I don't know about you, but I'm not letting her get away with this. Not after everything she put me through. We need to expose her. It was surreal, sitting there with the man who had been sleeping with my wife, suddenly realizing he might be the only person who truly understood what I was going through. And in that moment, as twisted as it was, I felt like I had found an unlikely ally. I thought walking out that night would be the end of it. I checked into a cheap motel on the edge of town, tossed my bag on the bed, and just sat there staring at the wall. 26 years, gone. My whole identity as a husband, ripped away in a matter of days. But then, the unexpected happened. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Tom. At first, I almost ignored it. Why would I want to talk to the guy who had been with my wife? But curiosity got the better of me. I think we should talk. Man to man. She lied to both of us. Against my better judgment, I agreed. We met at a small diner the next morning. When he walked in, he looked just as wrecked as I felt, red eyes, unshaven, like he hadn't slept. "Look," he started, sliding into the booth across from me. "I didn't know she was married." "I swear. She told me you were separated, that you were controlling, that you refused to sign divorce papers. She played me just like she played you." I studied him for a moment. There was no smugness, no arrogance. Just raw anger and betrayal. And then he dropped a bomb. "You're not the only husband she's lied to. I did some digging last night, and it turns out she's been on dating apps for years." He pulled out his phone, showing me screenshots. Profiles with her pictures, different names, slightly altered details, but all her. Some of the accounts went back nearly a decade. My hands went cold. A decade? That meant she'd been living this double life while we were still raising our kids. While I thought we were building a future together. Tom shook his head. "I don't know about you, but I'm not letting her get away with this. Not after everything she put me through. We need to expose her." It was surreal, sitting there with the man who had been sleeping with my wife, suddenly realizing he might be the only person who truly understood what I was going through. And in that moment, as twisted as it was, I felt like I had found an unlikely ally. We waited in the shadows, hearts pounding. Linda strutted into the bar, laughing, chatting, radiant in a way that made my stomach twist. My hands clenched the steering wheel, the rage and hurt colliding inside me. Tom and I exchanged a grim look. This was going to hurt. Then it happened. A man I didn't recognize stepped out from behind her, pulling her into a side hug, whispering something in her ear that made her giggle like a schoolgirl. My mind froze. Another one? Seriously? How many had there been? She looked around, oblivious to us watching. The man held her hand, brushed her hair back, and the familiarity in their body language was intimate. This wasn't casual. This wasn't just a friend. This was another full-blown affair. I felt like my world was collapsing, all over again. Tom muttered, "I didn't know about him. She's insane." We stayed hidden, watching her parade her lies right in front of us. By now, I wasn't just angry. I was furious. Shocked. Betrayed. 26 years of trust, love, and shared life reduced to a series of secret rendezvous and whispered lies. We recorded some of it discreetly on our phones. Every laugh, every touch, every subtle caress captured as undeniable proof. She didn't see us. She couldn't. And that's when I realized the magnitude of her deceit. This wasn't a one-off. This was her lifestyle. Tom shook his head. She's a pro. Daniel, she's been living like this for years. Multiple men. Maybe more than we'll ever know. I swallowed hard, trying to calm the storm inside. My mind raced. How could someone you've shared your life with betray you over and over? And yet, seeing it all unfold made something click. I wasn't imagining things anymore. I had the proof, the undeniable truth. And now, it was in our hands. The following Monday, I made my move. I waited until Linda got home from work, pretending everything was normal. I cooked dinner, set the table, and greeted her with a forced smile. Inside, my heart was pounding like a drum. Once she sat down, I placed my phone and Tom's recordings on the table, like laying down a gauntlet. I looked her straight in the eye. "Linda, we need to talk." Her expression immediately hardened. "About what?" she asked, feigning ignorance. I slid the phones toward her. "About this. About everything you've been doing behind my back. About the lies, the affairs, the men. Care to explain?" She froze, blinking rapidly, then laughed nervously. "Daniel, what is this? Are you serious?" I didn't say a word. The proof was right there. Every laugh, every touch, every whisper, all captured. Her face went pale, then flushed with anger. This is ridiculous. You can't just accuse me based on some videos and blurry photos. You're paranoid. This is harassment. I felt a surge of fury. Paranoid? You've been living a double life for months, maybe years. This isn't paranoia, Linda, this is reality. She leaned back, arms crossed, voice sharp and defensive. You think you're perfect, Daniel. You never noticed me, never paid attention. I had needs. I needed excitement, someone to actually see me. I shook my head, speechless at the audacity. She wasn't remorseful. She was justifying her betrayals. Every excuse, every lie, every manipulation she had ever used, it all came pouring out in a flood of venomous self-justification. I finally spoke, my voice steady but icy. You've destroyed our marriage, our family's trust, everything we built. And yet you act like the victim. She smirked. I'm surviving. Something you clearly can't understand. At that moment, I realized something essential: no amount of evidence, no amount of confrontation, would make her feel guilty. She didn't care. She was untouchable in her own mind. After that confrontation, I realized one crucial truth: arguing with Linda or hoping she'd feel remorse was useless. She thrived on control and chaos. If I wanted peace, I had to take control myself. The first step was boundaries. I told her, calmly but firmly, you need to leave. Tonight. Take whatever you need, but pack your things and go. I'm done living in a house where I'm treated like a fool. Her eyes narrowed. You can't just kick me out. Yes, I can, I said. You've destroyed our marriage with your lies. The rest is up to you. I called a local moving service and had them ready in case she refused. But surprisingly, the threat alone worked. She stormed off to pack, muttering insults under her breath about overreacting and controlling husbands, but I felt no guilt this time. Only a growing sense of liberation. Next, I focused on myself. I started therapy, something I had put off for years. I needed to untangle the anger, the betrayal, and the sadness. Tom became an unexpected support. We met several times, not as rivals anymore, but as men who had been manipulated by the same person, seeking validation and closure. I also documented everything. Photos, recordings, text messages, every shred of evidence of Linda's deceit. Not out of revenge, but for clarity and protection. In the past, I would have ignored red flags. Now, I had proof of what I refused to let happen again. It was painful at first. Each day felt like peeling off layers of myself I'd thought were safe inside a marriage. But slowly, I began to feel the old, forgotten version of Daniel returning, the man who had dreams, dignity, and the right to be respected. By the end of the week, she had left, and the house felt heavy with absence. Yet, strangely, that emptiness was not grief, it was space. Space to breathe, think, and rebuild. After Linda left, the silence in the house was deafening. But the echoes of her actions weren't confined to our home, they rippled outward in ways I hadn't anticipated. Our kids, grown now but still deeply connected to both of us, felt the tremor immediately. My daughter called me the day after Linda left, voice shaky, "Dad. I can't believe this. Mom, how could she?" My son was quieter but just as affected, sending texts full of questions I didn't have immediate answers for. Friends, neighbors, even distant relatives, people who had seen our marriage as solid, suddenly treated me differently. Some offered sympathy, others judgment, whispering about, how could she do that after all these years? The sting of betrayal extended beyond our family circle. It was like watching a pebble hit a pond, the ripples reaching places I never imagined. And yet, amidst the chaos, I found surprising support. Tom, strangely enough, became a confidant. We shared our anger, our disbelief, and even our grief. It was bizarre, this man, once my wife's lover, now helping me process the fallout. We laughed at the absurdity, cried over the betrayal, and started to rebuild a sense of trust that had been utterly shattered. Meanwhile, Linda tried to maintain her facade elsewhere. But as I had recorded and documented her lies, the truth started catching up. Her charm didn't shield her anymore, her network of deception was fragile, and cracks appeared quickly. People she had manipulated began to see the real picture. I realized then that betrayal doesn't just harm the direct victim. It reaches everyone connected to the web of lies. But it also clarified something crucial: while her actions had thrown our world into chaos, I still had the power to choose my response, to protect myself and rebuild my life. A few weeks after Linda left, I realized something important: I needed closure, not revenge. I needed to confront her one last time, not to argue, not to beg, but to set boundaries and reclaim my peace. I called her and arranged to meet at a neutral location, a quiet cafe halfway between our homes. When she arrived, dressed casually but still carrying that aura of superiority, I felt a wave of emotions: anger, betrayal, and, strangely, relief. I didn't waste time. I laid out everything calmly: the affairs, the lies, the manipulations. I showed her the documented proof, not to humiliate her, but to make it undeniable. Her reaction was a mix of defiance and frustration. "You're obsessed, Daniel. You can't let go." I shook my head. "I'm not obsessed. I'm done being lied to. I'm done letting your chaos control my life." She scoffed, but I continued, voice steady: "I forgive you for myself, not for you. I'm letting go of the anger, the sadness. I'm choosing to move forward without you in my life." For the first time, I felt the weight of 26 years of betrayal lifting. She realized that I wasn't going to react with pain or revenge anymore. I was reclaiming my life, my dignity, and my happiness. We parted ways that day, and it felt final. Not bitterly, but with a sense of freedom. I understood that some people are incapable of change, and the best way to heal is to release them from your life entirely. Sitting alone in my living room, weeks after Linda finally left for good, I had a lot of time to think. 26 years of marriage, shattered by lies, affairs, and manipulation. The pain was immense, but so was the clarity I gained. The first lesson I learned: trust is everything, and once it's broken repeatedly, you cannot simply patch it back together. I realized that forgiveness is for your own peace, not for the person who hurt you. Letting go of anger doesn't mean letting them back in, it means reclaiming your life. Second, boundaries are essential. I should have set firmer boundaries earlier in the marriage, but it took experiencing the ultimate betrayal to understand just how crucial they are. Protecting yourself emotionally, mentally, and physically is not selfish, it's necessary. Third, support comes from unexpected places. Tom, once my wife's secret lover, became an ally, a sounding board, and helped me see the situation from perspectives I couldn't on my own. Sometimes the world surprises you with people who understand your pain, even if they were involved in it. Finally, I learned that resilience is stronger than you think. Losing a marriage, facing betrayal, and seeing the truth laid bare is devastating, but it can also be a catalyst for growth. I started therapy, reconnected with old friends, and began exploring passions I'd long neglected. Slowly, life started to feel full again. If there's one piece of advice I can give anyone watching this story unfold, it's this: never ignore the signs, trust your instincts, and never let someone's deceit define your worth. Pain will pass, clarity will come, and life will continue, stronger, wiser, and more aware than before. Loudspeaker, thank you for following my story from beginning to end. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, and hit the notification bell to catch more real-life stories with drama, lessons, and shocking twists. Remember, even in the darkest moments, there's always a path forward.